Hello. Oh, why is this thing disturbing like that? Hello, everyone. Let me adjust something, please. Okay, so I guess we can start now. Hi, everyone. Is this okay? Yeah. Okay, so welcome to my live session. I am by name Grace, and my channel name is Favor Child Space. So today we are going to be talking about how you can practice English or how you can study a language, specifically English. I'll be talking about English because that is my area of study. So we are going to talk about how you can study English alone. You know, most of times we feel that you cannot study English alone because you need a teacher, yes, we need somebody to help us. But if you find yourself in a situation where you don't have anyone to help you, what are you supposed to do? Are you going to stay without the language, or you're going to look for another means to study the language? So that brings us to the topic of today, which is how to study English alone. How do you study a language alone? How do you learn a language alone? So I'm going to give you some tips on how you can learn a language alone. So let's dive in. Okay, so I have about 4 or 5 tips that I'm going to talk about, and let's just enjoy. And at the end of it, if you have any question, please don't hesitate to ask the question. Let me see if my comment section is open. Check my comments. Oh, why am I not seeing any comments? Hard. I can't even see my comment section. Okay. Okay. So let's dive into what we have. The very first thing that you need to do if you want to study a language alone, or if you want to study a language by yourself, the very first thing I would recommend you to do is set your goal. Set your goals. What are your goals? What do you really want? You need to set your goal, because when you set your goal, it will be very easy for you to achieve that goal. But if you want to study a language and you don't have any goal set, I assure you, it's going to be a bit difficult for you to study that language effectively. So the very first thing you need to do is set your goal. Set aside at least 10 to 15 minutes or 15 to 30 minutes, depending on your capability. So you need to set aside a particular time or number of hours or minutes, depending on how you can. But for a beginner, I would say you can set about 10 to 20 minutes or 20 to 30 minutes. Set this time aside for you to study every day. So let's assume you don't need to put 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. No, that's going to weigh you down. So if you set about 5 to 10 minutes or 10 to 15 minutes or 15 minutes to 20 minutes or 20 minutes to 30 minutes that you want to study, I assure you this is going to be effective. Another goal that you can set is you can say, okay, each day I'm going to learn 5 new vocabulary. Each day I'm going to learn 5 new vocabulary. And how are you going to do that? Make sure you learn those 5 new vocabulary and try to practice them in a sentence every day. When you do that, I assure you it's going to be very easy for you to be able to achieve that goal. The very second thing that you need to do is immerse yourself in English. How then do you immerse yourself in English? Surround yourself with people who speak English. Okay, let's say you are alone, you are in an environment where you don't have anyone that speaks English. There are different ways that you can use to improve your English, that you can immerse yourself in English. If you don't have people around you, you can watch movies. Yes, watch English movies. Watching English movies is very effective. You can you can turn in the subtitles, but make sure you listen carefully. Why? So that you can pick a word or a vocabulary that will help you. Another way is you can read comic books. Read comic books in English. You can read podcasts. You can listen to podcasts just for beginners. You can select podcasts like Podcasts for Beginners. Use it and it's going to help you. Yes, it's going to help you. Another way that you can do is speaking practice alone. Speaking practice alone. Yes. If you want to improve in your English or you want to learn English alone, you can always practice alone. How do you practice alone? There are 2 different ways that you can practice alone. The very first way is speak aloud to yourself. Yes, speak aloud to yourself. Read aloud to yourself. Always try to speak to yourself. You can go to the mirror and you talk to yourself. Try to listen to it. Another way that you can do is, we call it shadowing technique. Shadowing technique is a technique where you listen to a native speaker. Shadowing technique is a technique where you listen to a native speaker speaking. Maybe you can have an audio of a native speaker. Try to repeat, try to mimic what that native speaker is saying. Listen it for yourself. So you can decide to record your mimicking. So when you listen to the audio of the native speaker, you now record yourself mimicking what the native speaker said. When you do that, you realize that it becomes very easy for you to practice, because when you listen to what you mimicked, you know where you went wrong. You know the words that you didn't pronounce well. You know maybe where you had to stammer, like, you try to adjust. So that is another way that you can use to improve or to study alone, to learn English alone. Always try to mimic native speakers. Use the shadowing technique. And another one is, just as I explained, is to record yourself. Record yourself all the time. Maybe you can try to talk about short stories, any short story that you know in English, not in your native language. In English, try to do it and record. When you record, you listen to it, you know where you went wrong. Okay. And the next one that we are going to talk about is writing and vocabulary. Writing and vocabulary. How do you do this? One, you have to keep a journal of English. Have a little journal that every day you try to write something. Decide that, okay, I'm going to write maybe 3 or 4 vocabulary every day. Use a journal every day. And you realize that if you do that effectively, you're going to do well in that language. Don't give yourself a target of maybe writing 20 or 30. That would be too much for you. If you do that, it's going to be too much. So the only thing you need to do is just put a little that you know you can follow, even if it's 2 words, 2 vocabulary. Keep on that 2 vocabulary and you do it effectively. It's better to do a little effectively than to do much that is irregular. Okay, so try to do that and you're going to enjoy, or you realize that your language will improve. The next one is use online tools. Nowadays, we have a lot of online tools that you can use. We have many apps that you can use to practice your vocabulary. You have Memrise, you have Quizlet, you have many of them that you can name. So use these online tools, utilize them. Utilize these online tools. It's going to help you to study alone. You must not only wait that it's only through a teacher that you can learn the language. No, thank God for technology that has helped us. There are many apps, there are many tools, there are many platforms that you can use to learn English. So because of time constraint, because I don't want this live session to be very long, we are going to end here for now. So I have given you 4 different ways that you can use to study English alone. So if you try to put these ways in practice, or I will just like give a recap of these ways. The very first one is set goals. The second one is immerse yourself with English or in English. The third one is speaking practice alone. And the last one is writing and vocabulary building. When you practice these things, these 4 things, you realize that it becomes very easy for you to study English. Okay, so that was the little thing I have for this short live video. I'll just give you some few seconds. If you have any question, you can drop in the comment section. If there is no question, then we'll call it off. So let me just give you about a few minutes. Any question? Okay, so if you don't have any question, thank you very much for joining my live session today. Please, if you haven't followed me or you haven't subscribed, do well to subscribe to my video. Thanks very much for coming. See you next in my next live session or my next video. Visit my channel for more. Thank you very much. Bye.